Guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Today we're going to talk all about auras. How exciting. We're actually going to cover, what type of team lead you should have given where you're playing inside the game. We're going to talk about the best aura champions for every category, like straight up who has the best auras. And before we get to all that stuff, I feel like we should cover kind of the basics in case some people watching are new to the game or don't know exactly how auras work. So champion auras, all the starters have them. They're all 15% increase HP in every dungeon. So if you look at Kale here, you can see his aura increase ally HP in all battles by 15%. Now, if you look at the HP stat here, it's unfortunately not going to be affecting 15% of 37,635 on every champion. It's going to be affecting the base HP. So 13, 7 to 10 for the HP, 15% of that will be added to their total HP when engaging in that dungeon or wherever you happen to be running them as an aura lead. So that is different than, for example, the same as artifacts as well. Artifacts are obviously scaling off of these numbers when you equip them, but skills, for example, if we had a plus speed, plus 30% speed or plus 15% speed skill that we use on another champion, that's going to be based off of this number, the 187, not the 103. So kind of just some strategy, stat basics for you guys in case you weren't aware. Now, in terms of a leader, who is a good leader? Well, obviously you want a champion that does have an aura lead. So if we go to Dragon's Lair here, this is probably from yesterday's video, this team, indeed it is, you can see increase allied defense in dungeons by 33%. That's Vrask. He's my team leader. The team leader is the only one whose aura actually, goes to the other members of the team. So everybody on this team is going to be getting an extra defense of 33% on top of their base stat. So let's talk about, where and when to use each aura. And before we do so, I have to give a huge disclaimer, as I tend to do every video. There is no steadfast rule that this area requires this aura. Everything is depending on your goal, depending on your team, depending on the level of your account, okay? So let's go over some basics. For dungeons, now this is very basic here, guys, but follow through with me. These are the different areas of the game, and these are what auras are based off of. Even Doom Tower is going to be a new aura. I saw some of the new champions have increased ally attack in Doom Tower. I think it was a high one, too, around 40% on one of those legendaries. Then we have Clan Boss. Now, Clan Boss has no aura. It is all battles. So champions that have the aura that says increase ally defense in all battles will be applicable to Clan Boss, but dungeons will not work in Clan Boss. Arena has its own auras, Faction Wars has its own auras, Dungeons has its own auras, and thanks to Relic Keeper, Campaign also has aura-specific stuff. So some champions, their auras are only good in Faction Wars, for example. Now, a lot of champions have auras that are good in all battles. Obviously, that can be used everywhere, okay? So just kind of going through the basics here. Thanks for bearing with me, guys, if you already knew all that stuff. So, again, depends on what you need. Now, for dungeons, if you are speed farming in a dungeon, so if you've already cleared level 20 of Fire Knight, for example, right, you're probably going to be using either a speed aura or an attack percentage aura. There's really no reason to stack defense and HP or resist and accuracy on your team, providing you have the, the appropriate strategy kind of around. Basically, your team already has 100% crit rate, your team already has enough accuracy, your team is not defensive or HP-based damage. These are all very kind of niche teams that you can put together, and those will be the exceptions. So let's go ahead and quickly cover them right now, right? So some people, I don't personally do this. There's a real big reason why I don't, and I'll tell you in a second. But some people will build teams with, say, 75% crit rate on all the champions, and then they'll run a Bad Alcazar, for example, or another increased crit rate champion as the aura lead on that team. Now, what that's going to do is increase crit rate by 25%. That way you can sacrifice some of that crit rate when you're building these champions up and get it back. If it's 75%, they'll be at 100 if you run a crit rate lead. However, that's going to really limit those champions' versatility when they're at 75% crit rate in every other area of the game that you want to use them. So that's a strategy you could employ. Another one, for example, is running a champion like Biggin. And this is like kind of a mid-game strategy if you just don't have a ton of gear and you want to still be able to contend, you know, play above your weight a little bit, right? So I could run a team of all very low accuracy. I could run a team of about 110 accuracy on all of my champions, even the debuffers, 120, 130 or whatever, and run a champion like Biggin or another high accuracy champion, and that would bump me all the way up to 200 plus. So again, these are kind of very niche cases that I don't really advise you doing, because again, you know, if I have my debuffer at 120 or 130 accuracy, they're not going to be useful unless they have that Biggin or another accuracy champion in the lead. But some people do that. So again, kind of a different strategic way that you can kind of approach the game if it makes sense to you, your gear, your champions, whatever. Now, in terms of clan boss, we talked about, progression, dungeon progression, right? So all of these are considered dungeons, even the magic keeps and the keeps. So for dungeons, if you're in progression, if you're not speed farming, again, speed percentage on your aura lead or attack percentage. If you're just on progression, well, obviously HP percentage, defense percentage can help you guys out as well, okay? Now let's go to clan boss. I mean, most of you probably already know this, but again, in clan boss, you want your team lead to be ooh, I don't want to use a key, but you guys know what a clan boss loading screen looks like. I don't want to buy a key just for this video, no offense. I'm cheap. So, defense percentage, right? Defense trumps all in clan boss. So defense percentage is a great aura lead. Some people use speed, but most people use defense. We're going to talk about a bunch of champions later on in the second half of this video in terms of who to go with, and we'll also discuss the biggest and best numbers in the entire game. But clan boss is all about defense. It scales way better for clan boss especially than HP, so go with the defense's percentage in the lead. Arena, the most popular kind of meta aura leads are speed, resist, and defense. Mostly speed, especially when you're speed farming. You know, that's the way to go. When you're Great Hall farming, it's almost all speed. So speed, aura in the arena champions are incredibly valuable. Champions like Gorgorab, champions like Arbiter. Let's go ahead and, okay, so that's dungeons. Faction Wars. It's the most difficult area of the game, aside from Doom Tower, which is going to be released in, what, a week or two? So, for Faction Wars, you definitely want to prioritize. I was saying a week or two, and I'm like, is it going to be a week or two? Yeah, it is going to be a week or two. It's going to be like a week, I think, or less. So Faction Wars. Defense percentage usually, or HP percentage. HP percentage is very beneficial for Faction Wars, a bit more so than Clan Boss in my opinion, so you can go either way. HP or defense tends to be the option that most people go with, unless they get to the point again where they're just farming glyphs, they're already easily beating a certain specific crypt, and then in that case you can go with attack or whatever you have, speed, whatever. So those are the kind of the go-tos for each area of the game regarding auras. Now let's go ahead and talk about a few champions here, guys. Let's start with attack aura champions, and again, there's a few to choose from here. The most popular in the game, you're going to be using these, by the way, in dungeons primarily, in keeps, anywhere where you're speed farming, right? So the most popular attack champion in the game is definitely Royal Guard. Royal Guard, I use him as my team lead in Dragons, in Ice Golem, and in Spider. A 35% in Dungeons attack aura. Very, very good and a very hard-hitting champion. The highest attack aura in the entire game, a little trivia for you guys, is actually Cagebreaker, an Ogren Tribe Spirit Affinity champion. However, there's a huge caveat. Increase Spirit ally attack in all battles by 40%. So that 40% number is huge, but it only applies to spirit allies. I'm not a big fan of these affinity-based auras. However, some people use them if they have maybe two nukers on the same team who happen to be that specific affinity in this case, right? So if you have an attack in all battles at 40% and you have two spirit nukers, maybe consider that. But again, very, very niche. Just kind of a trivia, because I am going to say the highest numbers to you guys throughout this video. So other options for you guys. Well, there's Kalia here. Kalia has a 25% in all battles ally attack lead. However, overall, I'm not a big fan of Kalia as a champion. I know that she actually has pretty solid reviews here. I disagree. I think she's a C or C- grade champion personally. Other champions to note here, guys, there's not that many great, I mean, there's some legendary options. There's Errol, who has a 35% in dungeons as well, but I'm not going to go through all of the legendaries, guys. There's Mashaled, 34%. I think Septimus is 33%. There's a lot of good legendary options here. I'm going to cover a few of them in each of these, the most popular ones, I guess, in each of these kind of auras, but those are pretty much your options. I think we should probably mention, too, Relic Keeper, because he's the only guy who has an ally attack in campaign battles, and he's tied with Cagebreaker at 40%. Some people use them as their campaign farmer, him as their campaign farmer. Everybody's gonna fuse this dude because of Razin, but honestly, the starters are still better campaign farmers, even without the aura. Like a Kale, I would rather have than Relic Keepers, so, you know, take that for what it's worth. All right, let's go ahead and move to defense, and this is probably the biggest category in terms of the amount of champions I want to talk about here. So, the #1 defensive aura in the game, anybody know these offhand? It is actually from Skinwalkers, and it is Norog. Norog has the highest defensive aura in the game, allied defense in dungeons by 40%. It's a lot of defense, man. The highest champion in terms of all battles for defense is actually Blind Seer. She has 34% in all battles increased defense. Very good champion. I run her as a lead in one of my tag team arena teams. So those are kind of the highest. There's also a bunch of clan boss legendaries. We won't mention them all, but all at 33%. Starting with Sacred Order Martyr. Martyr has a 33% in all battles. A lot of people run her as their clan boss lead. Also, we have from Bannerlords, we have Raglan at 33% in all battles defense. And we have probably the other popular one is Barbarian Altan. Altan also has a 33% aura in all battles. If you're lucky enough to have any of those champions, you're probably running them in lead unless you have an unkillable team in Clan Boss. They're all Clan Boss absolute beasts, S-tier champions. In terms of epic options for a defensive aura in this game, there's really two, maybe three really popular ones. Three really popular ones. And I might be, if I'm missing anybody, by the way, on any of these, go ahead and let me know, guys. But Tayrel is the OG, old school Clan Boss Aura lead champion. And remember, it has to say all battles to apply to Clan Boss. Some people run like an Apothecary early on. I did. Way off in the beginning of this game. I was like, oh, I'll run Apothecary in the lead of my Clan Boss team. Not gonna work, man. He's in dungeons. We'll talk about him in a second. So defense in all battles by 25%. Tayrel is a stud in terms of Clan Boss. Definitely a guy that you want to be relying heavily on. Also, we have Orc, not Barbarian Ash. We have Sandlash Survivor. Sandlash Survivor also has allied defense in all battles by 25%. So really, for me, when you're talking about good defensive leads, not just for Clan Boss, but for dungeons as well, I'm looking at Sandlash Survivor. She has a great passive here, ally protection, block damage on herself. Really solid champion. Also a buff extender on her A2. But also, third, and this is, do I still not have her unlocked? I still don't have her. The only epic in the game I don't have, it's Sepulture Sentinel, and she is, I say newer, but released in 2020 at least, I believe, or close to maybe the end of 2019. It's Sepulture Sentinel, and she's the third kind of popular epic Clan Boss lead champion. Defense in all battles again by 25%. So we're looking at Tayrel, we're looking at Sandlash, and we're looking at Sepulture. And again, she's really good because of her passive, has a chance of completely blocking, a coin flip chance of completely blocking incoming damage. So really solid. In terms of other areas of the game, I alluded to this earlier, but Apothecary is a guy that a lot of you guys are going to be leaning on very heavily in dungeons as your team lead for progression. We talked about dungeons if you're farming level 20s, easy peasy. But what about the majority of you, I'm assuming, who are not farming level 20 dungeons? You're probably running Apothecary in the lead in almost all of your dungeons, even in Fire Knight, because even though it's not an appropriate for level 20 Fire Knight once you get there, it's not an appropriate affinity matchup, he still does very well because he has a 3-time hitter on his A1 and he has heals. That's all you need him for, right? To take that shield down and to heal your team and get the speed in there. So great. What makes Apothecary so great is not just his heal being on a 2-turn cooldown when booked, not just all the speed that he brings to the table, not just a 3-hitter on the A1, but it's this amazing aura, 21%. Obviously incredible for a rare champion in this game. And the last champion I'll talk about is actually a champion that we see, I wouldn't say frequently, but we see him enough, not Lizardman, we see him enough to at least give him a nod, and it is my man, why did I forget which Affinity Seeker was for a second? A faction rather. Anyway, it's Seeker. He has a 30% defense in arena battles. So some people use a defensive team in the arena and they put Seeker as their team lead. I've done that before as well. Seeker's an incredible epic champion in the game, and this defensive aura is fantastic for an arena defense, or kind of, well, I wouldn't say resist, but a good arena defensive team. He's just a beast of a champion. His passive heals his champion by 20% and places an increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns when he's hit with a critical hit every 5 turns. Really solid passive to have too. You only need it once usually, well, sometimes twice. But, you know, only usually need this ability once in the arena, and then hopefully the rest of your team can kill the enemy team in the subsequent 4 turns before this, you know, comes back off cooldown. So those are all the defense-based champions I wanted to kind of review in today's video. We got through a lot. There's a bunch more too, but those are my faves, especially those big 3 in the epic category. I'm sure a lot of you guys watching probably lean heavily on at least one of those 3 champions that we reviewed, especially for Clan Boss. Now let's talk about HP. Obviously, you guys know all of the starting champions have the HP in all battles aura. If you're just starting out in Raid Shadow Legends the first few months that you play this game, you're likely just going to be running your starter champion as your team lead, and that's totally cool. They're going to help you everywhere, including Clan Boss, so running them as your team lead is absolutely fine. A lot of people in the beginning of this game especially will be running Kale as their team lead in Clan Boss, in Dragon, and in Campaign, because he's going to help you out everywhere, especially with his poisons that he brings to the table. That's another reason, the poisons I should say, why Kale is so dang good compared to a lot of the other champions in the game. When we talk about speed champions, obviously the arena is the first thing that comes to mind, and the most popular arena speed lead is what you get for winning this game, essentially, for beating all the missions, and it's Arbiter. So Arbiter has ally speed in the arena by 30%. It is the 2nd highest speed aura in the arena, and a very, very good champion. She's all about speed. She has the turn meter boost. She has the revival. She's really, really solid. Lord Shazar actually has the highest speed in the arena overall at 32%. So Lord Shazar we see sometimes used in speed leads as well. In terms of speed lead legendaries for the arena, we see Prince Kaimar as well. Increase ally speed in all battles by 30%. So I guess in terms of legendaries, Kaimar, well, Arbiter far and away #1 in terms of speed teams. And then it's Kaimar and Lord Shazar probably as a 3rd, even though he has the highest aura. Doesn't bring the same amount to the table as Kaimar and Arbiter. And certainly Arbiter use rates are like 50 times, 100 times what even Prince Kaimar's are. So there's a huge drop off there. In terms of speed in all battles champions, we'll go back to High Elves. The #1 champion there is Lysandra. Lysandra has increased speed in all battles by 24%. Dude, that is sick. It's really sick. So a lot of people still run Lysandra even in their arena team. She goes after Arbiter, and she has this Energize, increased speed, turn meter manipulation as well. She brings a lot to the table. This is not a champion review or guide video though, so let's go ahead and keep it going. Outside of legendary champions, the 3 champions I would say that we see the most in terms of speed leads are Skullcrown, Skullcrown's incredible. I'm sure a lot of you guys watching, she's probably the most popular speed lead in the arena overall outside Platinum and Gold. Increase ally speed in arena battles by 23%, and she's just a really nice heavy nuker to go along with your team, and she has the unkillable buff on herself. She brings a lot to the table outside of just her aura lead. Now, the other two champions that people run in as aura leads are, totally drawn a blank. What faction is Jingle Hunter's a high elf. Come on, Ash. Jingle Hunter. Increase ally speed in arena battles by 24%. Jingle Hunter is a good, he doesn't scale as well as the other two champions we're going to talk about in the epic category here. It doesn't scale as well into the end game. You don't really see any Jingle Hunters in Platinum ever, whereas I have seen Skullcrowns in Platinum plenty. And very occasionally, you might see the next guy, which is Gorgorab. So Gorgorab is a fantastic all-around champion for dungeons, for arena, and he also has an ally speed in arena battles by 23%. So a lot of people use him. He has a revival, and he also has a turn meter boost and an increased attack. So generally, he'll go first. He'll turn meter boost the rest of your team by 15%, and then he'll place that increased attack on your nukers, and then you just go to town. That's how you farm, right? So those are the big popular arena speed leaders in the game, guys. In terms of when we talk about overall champions that have a speed like in dungeons, one that I want to give a nod to is an easily accessible champion. It's High Katoon. She's a daily login reward champion, and she has increased ally speed in all battles by 19%. So really solid champion there, certainly. All right, guys, we're talking about resist. I mean, the highest resist champion in the game is kind of cheating because it is an inaccessible champion to the majority of people, but it is Lydia the Death Siren. Ally resist in arena battles by 100. Beating out formerly the #1 resist champion in the game was a lizard man. His name was Razin Scarhide at resist in arena battles by 90. And then beyond him, we have, I guess, the second highest or the next highest would be Sippy the Lost Bride at 80. And then actually, it is a champion that we don't talk about a ton here. Zelota is the highest epic, and he has resist in the arena by 70. So if you want to try building a resist team, go ahead and run a Zelota. The problem with a high resist team, especially as you scale into Gold 4 and Platinum, is, well, one word. Ghostborn. Ghostborn has decreased defense that cannot be resisted. And that's the only champion in the game who has a skill like that. It makes him incredibly unique, incredibly powerful, but I'm not sure if that's cool, you know? It'd be almost like a champion that, I don't know, could resist everything, you know? Immune to everything, you know? It's almost like the opposite would be that. I don't know if that's really fair in the game, and I'm a Ghostborn user and owner, so I can say that, I guess. What do you guys think? Do you think a champion should have a skill that can resist anything? Does that make sense to you guys? Let's take a quick look at him. So Zelota, yeah, is the highest, and here it is right here. This debuff cannot be resisted. Decreased defense. I don't know. Anyway, that's a conversation for another day. Maybe it is fair. By the way, talking about speed, Astrelith has a 28% in arena battles as well, but yeah, kind of a crappy champion overall for legendary, certainly. So those are the resist champions. We've talked about some accuracy champions as well already. Talking about crit rate champions, you know, there's accuracy and crit rate, people don't use them that often, but accuracy can make a difference if you don't have another aura lead. We talked about a champion like Bad El Khazar having a 25% crit rate. Also, a champion that you actually are going to be using her crit rate aura is Queen Ava. It's a legendary champion, but part of the reason she's the best campaign farmer, aside from her being amazing because of her skills and the synergy it has on campaign, is you only have to build her out to an 81% crit rate as is, and she has a 15% chance of inflicting a critical hit extra on her A3 as well. And she's going to be the team lead every single time. So again, you can see why Queen Ava is such an amazing campaign farmer, essentially having a 34% extra chance at landing that critical hit every single time. Now, what other champions? I guess there's Warcaster has a crit rate. Oh, it's only Void. So increase Void ally crit rate in all battles by 23%. Again, not too enticing to me. I also believe that in Sacred Order, was it Frostbringer? Defense and dungeon by 33. That's actually a pretty good aura. I knew that Frostbringer had something I wanted to mention in today's video. Is it Juliana? Yeah, crit rate in arena battles by 20%. So you have some options. I believe Talia has one as well. But really for me, guys, I'm not looking at crit rate auras. I'm really not looking at accuracy auras. Maybe sometimes once in a blue moon, I will run an accuracy champion as my aura lead. But for the most part, I'm going with what I told you at the top of today's video. I hope today's video was able to help some of you guys out. I kind of threw a lot at you guys, but hopefully it made sense. I have no videos at all going over auras in the game. So hopefully, again, this benefited a few of you guys, at least get you thinking about, what champion to use on which of your teams. Auras do make a substantial difference on any of your teams in progression and in farming in Raid Shadow Legends. So guys, thanks so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.